What's going on, guys? I'm the Wrestling King coming at you with the 2017 Pay-Per-View DVD Collection. So I've been kind of going back recently and just kind of going backwards with these Pay-Per-View DVD collections. So I figured, why not keep it rolling? Let's get right into 2017. So kicking off with the Royal Rumble, I really enjoyed this pay-per-view. I thought there were some really good world title matches, and I thought the men's rumble was really enjoyable as well. You had people like The Undertaker, Goldberg, and Lesnar in there, so it was a really, star-studded rumble. And this was, I think, the first year they would use this rumble logo, and I think they're still using it, which I like it. It's good. You had the tagline, "Remember the Rumble." And this is a 2-disc set, and on the spine, they even have your boy Randy Orton, who won the whole rumble. And there he is again, front and center on the back, right in the middle. You got a shot between Goldberg and Taker there, so that's cool. You had Bayley and Charlotte for the Raw Women's title. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns in a great Universal title match. I really enjoyed that. And then John Cena won the WWE title from AJ Styles at this show. So yeah, like I said, really good world title matches, I thought. And yeah, just good rumble overall. I thought it was cool to see people like Taker in there again, and Lesnar and Goldberg did their thing, and so yeah, it was cool. So yeah, like I said, very good rumble. I enjoy this one more than others, so yeah, pretty good show. Then we move on to our double feature, the first ever double feature, and this would happen quite a bit throughout the year. We'd get, I think, 4 or 5 of these. And this is because Raw and SmackDown were doing separate shows, so there was like 2 a month at the time. And this month, right before WrestleMania, we had Elimination Chamber for SmackDown and Fastlane for Monday Night Raw. So I actually like the artwork on these. I think they did a really good job. There's a spine and everything. So I'll just go from top to bottom and go through each show. So first you got John Cena up here with the Elimination Chamber chain there and some blue background. I think that's pretty cool. And then on the back, got some more blue artwork and just some highlights. You had Orton versus Luke Harper in a really good match. You had Naomi winning the SmackDown Women's title from, I believe, Alexa Bliss. And you even get your kickoff show match. I think they put them on all these. Yeah, you got your kickoff show, Mojo Rawley versus Kurt Hawkins. And then the 6-man chamber match, Cena, Styles, Corbin, Ambrose, Miz, and your winner, Bray Wyatt. So that was cool seeing Bray Wyatt finally win the WWE title. And even though he only held it a month, it was still a cool moment and really good chamber match. Then we go on to Fastlane. Not as good of a pay-per-view. I think SmackDown definitely took the W on this one. But we have your main event right there, Kevin Owens and Goldberg. And, well, we all know how that turned out. And yeah, there's not a lot of other memorable things. I mean, you got New Day there with their New Day pops, right? You had Charlotte and Bayley again. I think Bayley would win the Raw Women's title here. And then you had Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman, and I think their first pay-per-view match of many. They would have many more. And then looking on the inside, you got John Cena for your disc and Kevin Owens and Goldberg for your Fastlane disc. So yeah, just the same as the covers, but I like that. It's more than we get for disc art nowadays. So yeah, like I said, I really like the style of these double features, and we'll get more into those later on. Now we're here at WrestleMania 33, and this is another Mania that I enjoyed personally, but some people had mixed opinions on it. It definitely has its ups and downs, but I enjoyed it overall. I really love the logo there. They were in Florida, and yeah, I like the whole theme of this, kind of the roller coaster, the ultimate thrill ride, yeah. Cover isn't bad either. It's very bright. You got your orange, yellow, and bright blue. All your main stars here, Goldberg and Taker front and center, Roman Reigns. And this was the last Digipack Mania that we would get here in the U.S. I think they still release them in the U.K. though. And there's your back artwork. You got Taker here. This is the show that we thought he was retiring, but obviously he would not. You got more of your kind of coaster there with some screenshots, so that's really cool. And beautiful stage. You had a globe with Mania and then like a roller coaster on the side, so I really like their presentation for this Mania. I thought they Really did a good job. Yeah, there's a really nice shot of the stage. So yeah, there's some of your interior artwork. You know, we got Rollins and Triple H. Your trading card, your Rollins. Got some more artwork, and then I'll go through the match listing on the discs. There you go. The Hardy Boys returning to win the Raw Tag Titles at this show, so that was another cool moment. So, like I said, this show is just kind of packed full of fun matches and cool moments like the Hardy Boys. You know, I enjoyed some of these. So now I will get into the matches. So on disc 1, we kick off with America the Beautiful, obviously. The New Day, who were the WrestleMania hosts, welcomed the WWE Universe to the Ultimate Thrill Ride. Then we had Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles. Pretty good opener. The U.S. title, Jericho versus Owens. Bayley versus Banks versus Flair versus Jax for the Raw Women's title. Fatal 4-Way Elimination match. And then the Hall of Fame class came out. And then you had your ladder match for the Raw Tag titles. Gallows and Anderson versus Enzo and Cass versus The Bar versus the Hardy Boys, the returning Hardy Boys. So that was a cool moment, even though they're not in the company now. Still cool to look back on. You had John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. Obviously, John Cena would propose to Nikki Bella, so, you know, that aged pretty well. Seth Rollins versus Triple H in a non-sanctioned match. I enjoyed their rivalry back then. Then you had Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton in kind of your lackluster, forgettable WWE title match. A Universal title match, which was actually a pretty good match. That's probably my favorite Goldberg match since he's been back, I gotta be honest. Goldberg and Lesnar, Universal title. Pretty solid match. Then your six-pack challenge for the SmackDown Women's title. Alexa Bliss versus Naomi versus Becky Lynch versus Mickie James versus Natalya versus Carmella. And then WWE breaks the Citrus Bowl's attendance record. So there you go. And your main event, no holds barred, Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. And like I said, you know, Taker put his hat and coat in the ring, and people thought he was done, but he would come back the next year. And then you have your Hall of Fame disc. So very slim part of it's on disc 2. And there's your third disc. You can pause and look through who's on it. You know, you got the Rock and Roll Express, Rick Rude, Teddy Long, Kurt Angle, DDP. So yeah, like I said, I enjoy this Mania. I like looking back on it, but it's not the best. I mean, it's an average Mania, but like I said, I enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts on this Mania down in the comments below. Now we're back to the double features, Payback and Backlash, coming right off of WrestleMania. Payback, you got Jericho there with kind of some wording, phrases, you know, what goes around comes around. There you go. Retaliation. There you go. It's kind of cool. And kind of some glass breaking in the background too, so I actually like that artwork pretty well. There's your spine. And then on the back, you got Strowman there, Alexa Bliss. So yeah, you get your kickoff match again, Enzo and Cass versus Gallows and Anderson, and Miz TV with Finn Balor. So this show, you would have Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe, Jericho and Owens for the U.S. title again, Bliss winning the Raw Women's title from Bayley, your House of Horrors match between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton, and then Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns in your main event. So, you know, kind of another not very memorable show, but there's some decent matches on it. And then you go on to Backlash for SmackDown. You got Shinsuke Nakamura right there doing a big kick, Kinshasa, whatever. And I kind of wish they had more blue on this, because Shinsuke adds a lot of red, but then you have blue for the Backlash logo. It is what it is. You got a lot of blue on the back. So this show is memorable for one thing, but I'll go through the other stuff first. I mean, you had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and your kickoff match, Ty Dillinger and Aiden English. But Jinder Mahal beat Randy Orton for the WWE title, so that's a moment I hated at the time. But I like looking back on it now just because it's kind of crazy they actually won it, you know, and he held it. And he wasn't a terrible heel champion, it's just at the time, why, you know? And there's your artwork. You got some nice purple in the background. Jinder and Orton, Reigns and Strowman. So yeah, not the strongest pay-per-views coming out of Mania, but, you know, they were alright. It kind of cooled down the WrestleMania energy. Next up, we have Extreme Rules and Money in the Bank 2017. And I actually like this cover because it's just so colorful, really. You got the Hardy Boys up here with some purple and green. And then down below you got the New Day doing the Yellow Brick Road gimmick. You got a unicorn over there. A golden opportunity awaits with the ladders and the briefcases up there. And there's your spine. Very nice spine. I like looking at that on the shelf. So, Extreme Rules, you had The Miz versus Dean Ambrose for the Intercontinental title. You had Alexa Bliss and Bayley in a kendo stick on a pole match. You have your Extreme Rules kickoff match, Kalisto and Apollo Crews. You had The Bar versus the Hardy Boys for the Raw Tag Team titles. I believe The Bar would win and take the titles away from the Hardy Boys. And then you had your Fatal 5-Way between Samoa Joe, the winner, and Rollins, Wyatt, Reigns, and Balor. And the winner would go on to Great Balls of Fire, but we'll get to that, to face Brock Lesnar. So then, for Money in the Bank, you had the New Day and the Usos, and they always have a great match for the SmackDown Tag titles. You had Carmelo winning the women's Money in the Bank contract, and Baron Corbin winning the men's, which was actually a really good ladder match. You had Corbin, Zayn, Owens, Ziggler, Styles, and Nakamura, and like I said, Corbin came out the victor. And then you had Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton in a rematch. There's your kickoff match, Hype Bros and Colognes. So yeah, I think Extreme Rules is probably the better of the pay-per-view, so Raw kind of got the win on this side of things, but like I said, really good Money in the Bank ladder match. So, yeah, not the worst shows. Probably better than Payback and Backlash by far. So, but they're gimmick pay-per-views, so kind of had some excitement there. Next we move into Great Balls of Fire and Battleground. So you have Raw side of things, Great Balls of Fire, the one and only, and then Battleground, which I think was the last ever Battleground that they've had. And that was a SmackDown show. So you got Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton with the Punjabi Prison, dividing them, and then Joe and Lesnar, your main event there, with a black background. And there's your spine. Very colorful Battleground logo. I wish they did that on the front, too. They do it on the spine and the back, but they never did it on the front. So Great Balls of Fire, actually a pretty good event. It was kind of surprising, because everyone hated the name. It's kind of like Stomping Grounds, where it actually turned out to be a pretty good show. You had Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's title. You had Dean Ambrose and The Miz for the Intercontinental title again. You had The Bar versus the Hardy Boys again in a 30-minute Iron Man match, which was really good actually. And then another really good match, Reigns versus Strowman in an ambulance match. So that was exciting. I think Reigns crashed another car into the ambulance, and then Strowman still got up or something like that. And then you had Lesnar. He beat Samoa Joe, but pretty good. Short match, but Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar had a good match at this show. And then for Battleground, you had AJ Styles and Kevin Owens again. You had Natalya winning a #1 contenders opportunity to face Naomi at SummerSlam. You had John Cena and Rusev in a flag match. And Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton Punjabi Prison. And Jinder Mahal would win with the help of the Great Khali. So, Battleground was definitely a kind of a perplexing pay-per-view. But Great Balls of Fire was actually pretty good, considering the name. The name doesn't have anything to do with the show, but just people thought it wasn't going to be very good. So, yeah, there you go. I'd say another Raw win. If you're going to go off these pay-per-views, Raw had the better show. Now we move on to SummerSlam 2017, and I don't know what it is about the bigger shows during 2017, but I just really remember them fondly. I really like the artwork on this, too. You kind of have the graffiti in the background with everyone's names, and you got your main talent here, so very cool cover. You got your Fatal 4-Way match on the spine between Lesnar, Strowman, Reigns, and Joe. Really good main event for the Universal title. You had Rollins and Ambrose beating The Bar for the Raw tag titles. You had Bliss and Banks again for the Raw Women's title. You had John Cena versus Baron Corbin and kind of a just nothing opener. I mean, it was okay. It's good to see Cena, but it didn't do anything too great. Natalya beat Naomi for the SmackDown Women's title here. And then you had Jinder Mahal and Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE title. You had Finn Balor and Bray Wyatt. Finn Balor bringing out the demon attire. And you also had AJ Styles and Kevin Owens with Shane McMahon as a special guest referee. So, you know, kind of similar to WrestleMania and the Rumble for me. I remember this just being a very fun show with some good matches in between. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, but for the most part I remember it being pretty good. And there's your disc art. So, pretty cool. Like I said, I like this show, but it's not the best SummerSlam, but I enjoy it. Now we move on to, I believe, the final double feature of the year. No Mercy and Hell in a Cell 2017. So you got Strowman and Lesnar up top with some red background. So No Mercy got the Raw's pay-per-view compared to SmackDown from the year before. And then Hell in a Cell would go to SmackDown. Kind of a cool shot, but kind of odd. You have Shane McMahon jumping off this side here, but then you have Kevin Owens climbing up over here. So I don't know, that's kind of weird. But yeah, pretty cool cover. There's your spine. So I watched No Mercy live. At the time I didn't have the network, but I did order it, and I thought it was a pretty good show. You had a fatal 5-way for the Raw Women's title. Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Alexa Bliss, and Emma. And I believe Alexa Bliss would retain the Raw Women's title here, or win it back, I'm not sure. You had Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus Cesaro and Sheamus again. And this is the match where Cesaro, I think, he didn't break his teeth, but they got jammed into his gums, which was pretty sick. I mean, I feel bad that it happened to him, but man, that was crazy how he kept going with that. That was nuts. And then John Cena and Roman Reigns, match of the night. That was a really good match. And then your main event was kind of lackluster. Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman for the Universal title. And then on SmackDown side of things, for Hell in a Cell, you had the New Day and the Usos inside Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown tag titles. You had Natalya versus Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's title. Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura once again for the WWE Championship. Jinder continuing his reign. And your main event, Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, I believe, would win with the help of Sami Zayn. So, you know, kind of fun pay-per-views here. I think both of them have their good moments. Good Hell in a Cell matches for SmackDown, and, you know, pretty good show for No Mercy. You get Kevin Owens card over here, and there's your disc art. I really like the No Mercy disc art because it's different from the cover. So yeah, like I said, pretty good shows for Raw and SmackDown here. Next up, we would not get a double feature, but this is a Raw exclusive show, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs 2017. And a lot of things would change from the show. This was supposed to be a Shield main event, but it turned out being a Team Angle / Shield thing. You know, you had Kurt Angle joining Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose to team up in the main event, which I will get to. And you had the debuting Asuka on the main roster, at least, take on Emma. You had Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, which is supposed to be Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. And then Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James for the Raw Women's title. And your main event, the Shield, sort of, you know, Kurt Angle, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins versus Kane, Braun Strowman, The Bar, and The Miz in a 5-on-3 handicap match. TLC match, also. So, you know, this is kind of a cool show. I think some of the changes made it better, but I would have liked to have seen Roman Reigns with the Shield, you know, in that match. But either way, it was still a fun match and a pretty fun TLC show. So yeah, it's cool to see Kurt Angle back in the ring again, and this would not be the only pay-per-view he would wrestle at during this year. Next up, we're looking at Survivor Series 2017, Brand Supremacy, Raw and SmackDown. You have your 5-on-5 team there for Raw and SmackDown. So I might as well just run through that right now. You got Kurt Angle, Triple H, Strowman, Finn Balor, and Samoa Joe versus Shane McMahon, John Cena, Shinsuke Nakamura, Randy Orton, and Robert Roode. And Triple H and Braun Strowman would be the sole survivors, beating Team SmackDown. And you had a really good match between Brock Lesnar and AJ Styles. You know, this was a really good Survivor Series match for Brock Lesnar, but I love him and Daniel Bryan as well. So, yeah, really good back-to-back Survivor Series for Brock Lesnar. And then you have Alexa Bliss and Charlotte on the spine, and they would have a match, you know, Raw Women's Champion versus SmackDown Women's Champion. You had your 5-on-5 women's match, and your tag champions against each other, The Bar versus the Usos. So, yeah, I think all Big Four pay-per-views this year for me were pretty good. I enjoyed them all. So I thought this was a pretty fun show as well. And this was still at the time where I don't think the Raw versus SmackDown thing was too overdone. But I think after 2018, then it would get a little old. But yeah, so like I said, I enjoyed this show. Much like the Rumble, Mania, and SummerSlam. You know, not everyone liked this show, but I did. Then the final pay-per-view of the year. Kind of odd placement, but we have a SmackDown pay-per-view, Clash of Champions 2017. You have your WWE Champion AJ Styles, who had recently won it from Jinder Mahal right before Survivor Series, and the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte. And they are both on the spine as well. So yeah, you had Charlotte versus Natalya for the SmackDown Women's title in a lumberjack match. And then a fatal four-way for the SmackDown tag titles. American Alpha, Rusev and Aiden English, I believe. And then the New Day and the Usos. Yet another tag match between Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, with two referees being Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. And then your main event was AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. And Jinder Mahal would not win back the title. AJ Styles would go on, I think, almost a year-long reign here. And there's your trading card, Shinsuke Nakamura, and your disc art. So yeah, that does it for 2017. 2017 definitely had some good pay-per-views, but it also had some bad pay-per-views. But I guess every year does. You know, I enjoyed the Big Four pay-per-views this year, which I think is important. And, you know, some of the other ones, like Elimination Chamber, Great Balls of Fire, you know, those were pretty good shows. So, definitely not the worst year for WWE, but the TVs, you know, it was okay. So, a year that I look back on more fondly than most. But let me know your thoughts on the 2017 year of pay-per-views down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll catch you in the next one.